In today's tutorial, I'm going to teach you Cyanotype Basics and how to make a cyanotype print. These turn out so fun. We're actually using them to catalog some of our garden bounty. This is a little bit of dill. It's a great project for the kids, and you only need a few materials. If you want to use exactly what I'm using, I linked all the materials used in this video in the description and in the comments, so you can get exactly what you need to get started.
Hey guys, the cyanotype instructions are pretty thorough, but I'm going to run through them quickly just in case you have any questions or there's any confusion about how to mix and store them. So first step, when you take them out of the box, you can hear that they're pre-filled with powder. It says to fill part A up with water, replace the cap, and shake. Fill part B up with water, replace the cap, and shake. You want to shake until you can't hear any of the powder so that it's fully dissolved. It also says for best results, you want to wait 24 hours after you've added the water for the powder to completely dissolve into the water solution. So after your 24 hours, you'll be ready to start a project. Separately, part A and part B have a long shelf life. It's not until you combine part A and part B that chemical reaction for the cyanotype happens. So you don't want to be mixing part A and B together until you're ready to do your project. I'd recommend having your paper, fabric out, getting all of your supplies ready to go, and having mixing part A and part B be the final step. If I'm working on an 8x10 piece of paper, as an example, I would only be using a teaspoon of part A and a teaspoon of part B. You don't want to overmix, because if you were to mix the two of these together, they're only stable for 2 to 4 hours. So anything that you don't use on paper fabric would be wasted. So it's always better to undermix, because you can mix another small batch if you need a little bit more, but unfortunately you can't keep part A and part B once they have been mixed together. So let's get started. You're going to want to do this step in low light conditions. I'm going to be using this Canson watercolor paper, and I'll link that also if you're looking for a good sturdy paper. So I'm only going to do 2 small prints today, so I'll mix equal parts of part A and part B, and I'm going to use a 1/2 teaspoon. Make sure you cap the bottles too right after you use them, so you don't get your caps confused or let a bunch of air in. So now that I've mixed part A and part B together, this is only stable for 2 to 4 hours. So you can see how much we've got there, just a little. And I'm gonna move the paper so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. I'm gonna paint this on. It paints on as a yellow, and it'll dry similarly. You don't wanna have a bunch of pooled solution. So when you dip, you wanna spread that as much as possible. I like how the brush strokes leave like an unfinished edge to it. You could always make those a little bit more smooth, but I like having the strokes, the brush strokes. You're gonna set these in a place with low light to let them completely dry. And then we'll set them to dry.
gonna do a third print because I've got a little bit left after coating those 2 7x10 sheets, so might as well do 3. I wanted to show you guys about how much you can get using a 1/2 teaspoon of each. So you could probably even do 1/4 of a teaspoon if you were just gonna do a few. I've found too, it's always nice to have a couple extra pieces of paper in case you mess something up. So this will be a spare in case anything goes awry while we're doing the cyanotype process. Don't worry if the paper gets so wet that it starts to curl. You're gonna end up putting this in a water bath later anyway, so you don't really have to worry about the curling that it does now. You can straighten it out and get it nice and flat when it does its final drying. So if it's curling now, like that, just let it. It might actually help this dry evenly without pooling. So this is sheet number 4, using the 1/2 teaspoon each. And we've got barely any left in the bowl. So 1/2 teaspoon will do about 4 of these 7x10 sheets. While your paper is drying, it's a good time to get a layout of the pieces that you're going to be putting onto the paper. So that process has to happen really quickly. So I like to lay it out so I can get a feel for what it's gonna look like, so I can do it as quick as possible when I get the paper out. These are some dill and carrots that we got from our garden that I think would be fun. And then a few days ago, my daughter went out foraging for some wildflowers. So we've got some fun little twigs and stems and leaves from what she did. So I'll probably commemorate that trip a little bit too. Right, my paper is completely dry and I've placed my dill right in the center. I'm using a piece of glass from an 8x10 frame, and I'm gonna press it directly on top of the paper, and then we're gonna take it out into the sun. Let's go. Your print will stay outside anywhere from 3 to 30 minutes, depending on the light of the day. You're looking for the print to have almost a bronze finish. That's how you know that it's completely finished and ready for a water bath. My print was out in the sun for about 3 minutes. I have removed the dill, and now we're gonna put it into a bucket of water and rinse off all of that remaining ink. You can change your water as you need to. You can see on the finished print that the color will continue to develop as it dries. Make sure to tag me on Instagram at orphabeatrice so that I can see all of your prints too. I'd love to see what you guys do with this. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.